later on from what we've been told, but for now, we've got myself and Hamza, and Tara as well, who's going to be doing the talk about questions to ask your accountant. Sorry, that one? Sorry, I'm not tall enough to cover it either. But yeah, so Tara's going to be speaking about questions you should ask your accountant, and I'm personally looking forward to it, so I'm sure you guys are as well. I'll let you take over. That's okay?
Yeah, thank you. Hi everyone, my name's Tara Askham. So I have a small business and I know how difficult it can be. So my background is delivering finance trading, but I want to be able to simplify it for people and also help you ask the right questions so that you can save money. So a little bit about my background. I am a published author. I work with awarding bodies. I work in corporate as well. So we'll get to see lots of different types of businesses at different stages. I also work with NatWest. I'm on their funding panel, so again I get to see lots of different funding applications from different types of businesses. I'm a mentor with Santander Women in Business and Enterprise Nation, and more recently, in the past month, I've been invited to join Zero's Financial Literacy Task Force, so I'm trying to get involved with trying to get the government to recognise that we need to be more financially literate both in school and in business. So, just pop some logos on there.
You said your awards.
I always do that, skip past it. Sorry, this year then, I was actually in hospital with pneumonia in January when I found out I won F Entrepreneur. So one of the top 100 women in entrepreneurship this year, and I was invited to the House of Lords in March, which was amazing. And I won the Theo Paphitis Small Business Sunday Award. I recommend all of you try and do that. All you have to do is post on a Friday evening. Not Friday, a Sunday evening at a set time with a chance to win and then go along to his annual event. And then I was asked to deliver this similar session for his regional boot camps that I delivered in May as well. So it's all about empowering you to ask the right questions and make more money, okay? So we're going to look at 3 essential numbers every business owner needs to know, okay? Smart questions to ask your accountant, and how we can stay on top of cash flow. So, who only speaks to their accountant once a year when you get your tax bill? Yeah, get a few nods, a few hands up there, yeah. So what we want to do is we want to be able to change this. We want to empower you to ask the right questions. So it's not a shock when you get your tax bill, that you're aware of your numbers, you make sure you're comfortable and profitable within your business. And so I put a few bits together. The first thing I want to show you is elements of the profit and loss account. Have you all heard of a profit or loss account? So in business, we need to know, are we making a profit or a loss? And often, I'm guilty of it, particularly if I'm delivering a course I'm paid for, and I'm writing materials, I'll spend ages writing materials, and actually, probably I should be on minimum wage by the time I've written those materials and delivered the course, and actually it ends up not being as profitable as I thought. But I think sometimes we turn a blind eye to that, don't we, when we're trying to be successful, particularly in the earlier days. So the profit and loss is made up of these different key parts. So we've got sales at the very top, so income that we're generating from products and services that we offer in our business, okay? And you'll notice in accounting, there's lots of jargon. Accountants love to use jargon, okay? So this is why I'm going to try and break it down as well. Then we've got cost of goods sold. So these are our expenses that we've got that relate to being able to generate the services that we're selling. So let's say we are making these tables as an example. The cost of goods sold would be the furniture, the items, the wood, the people in the factory that are producing these. So, if I'm delivering a service, so if I'm going out delivering training, it would be my wage, it would be materials if I'm giving you books and things like that. And that would all be the cost of goods sold. So we can take that from the sales, and if we've got accounting software, have all of you got accounting software? Yeah. Anyone not got software? You can do it on spreadsheets, so there's no excuse, okay? That's what I do. Yeah. And also, just a tip for you, I always think of tips as I'm going along, sorry. But if you open a bank account in NatWest, I'm not on commission by the way, you get free agent for free, so that's what I've done as well. Yes. And free agent does the job. It's probably as you start to grow, you might want to look at different accounting software to use. So, revenue minus the cost of goods sold gives us a gross profit. Have we heard of gross profit before? So the gross profit, if we imagine every pound of sale, let's say this is 20 pence, it tells us every pound of sale we're generating, we're making 20 pence of gross profit. Now this can vary depending on the business that we've got and the industry that we're in, but we want this to be as high as possible, okay? So the first number we should know is the gross profit margins, and we would take this and divide it by sales. And we can track that. So we want it to be as high as possible. So how do you think we could impact and influence this if we were trying to increase our gross profit margin?
Charge more?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe charge more. We could look at, see if we could get some discounts or change suppliers, but we don't want to be impacting quality, do we? That's the other thing we need to consider. But we need to track this, because if we don't know this, we haven't got a handle on our numbers, and we want to make sure that we are profitable in our business. Then we deduct all of the other running costs of the business. So you might have heard of overheads. So these tend to be fixed. The day-to-day running costs of the business, insurance, website costs, marketing, etc. And when we deduct those, it gives us our net profit or loss at the bottom. So with this one at the bottom, we can take this and divide it by sales, and again, it will give us a percentage to track. And we want that to be as high as possible as well. And if we find it's declining, we're probably spending too much on overheads. And how easy is it to sign up to subscriptions and auto-renew? And how often do you actually review what you're paying, because it's just taking it automatically out of the bank account? The key difference between these, this one's variable, so it changes in relation to how many sales we're making, and this one stays the same. So the way to think of it, during COVID, a lot of businesses had to close their doors, didn't they? They couldn't trade. So they wouldn't have had any cost of goods sold, but they still had to pay the other costs to keep the doors open, so that when the COVID restrictions were lifted, we came back to working business. Does that make sense there? Please shout up. Does anyone have any questions or queries on that?
No, it makes sense.
Yeah?
So I was going to ask, for clarity,
Yeah.
where in that list the EBITDA comes in when you look at the net profit?
EBITDA is at the bottom. So EBITDA, some people talk about, it depends on the type of business you're in. Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortisation. A right mouthful. But basically, it's your profit before your accountant does any additional adjustments for you in relation to maybe items that you're purchasing in your business. That's a great question, and I covered that in my 2-day course if that's of interest. Any other questions?
When you're talking about accounting software or
Yeah.
spreadsheets, like what are the type of things that we should be tracking in those?
So you can click a button. It's a great question again. So with the accounting software, we want to save time, so we can link it to our business bank account. When we link it, it's automatically putting those transactions in there, and we can set it so that it recognises certain types of transactions, and it will code it for us. And it will code it according to, if we set it up correctly, into either of these for us.
Yeah.
Then we can click a button for the end of year reports, profit and loss account, and it will generate this for you. And then all you need to do is take that figure, divide it by that, gives you a percentage that you can track month on month.
Just on the, I mean, I've only just started using free agents, so I'm not really a fan of it, but I do know there's a pay section on there.
Yeah.
But does that then go into your overheads as your day-to-day running costs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the payroll for your wage essentially. Is that what you mean? Yeah. Any other questions? You all right? Okay. So I will just say some of this stuff, like I teach that at Nottingham College, it changed its name that many times, but you'd be there like a year learning the in-depth parts of this, but what we're trying to do is just give you the overview so you can go back. I'm going to do those 2 calculations, I'm going to track them month on month, and then if you're a business that is seasonal, where maybe your sales are increased in summer rather than winter, you can then compare to this time last year as well, so it's just giving you that bit of data for you to keep an eye on. So, gross profit margin. So what are you keeping after the costs have been deducted that directly relate to the sales and services that you're offering within your business? What's the true profit after you've taken off all of your expenses? And then working capital, so this is money that we've got left in the business. So there's a couple of other bits and tips I want to tell you about actually. So we could have, let's imagine we've got the best business in the world. We've sent out £1,000 worth of sales, we've got no costs, so we've made £1,000 worth of profit. What that doesn't tell us in that profit and loss is, has that customer actually paid us? If that customer never pays us, we've got no business. So the profit and loss can look really profitable, but if we've not got the cash coming from the customers, we've got no business, and we need to be really aware of that. So there is another report you can run called the balance sheet. Have you heard of the balance sheet before? The balance sheet is a snapshot at a point in time. It's always changing. So in the same way I might go and buy a coffee after I've been here, my bank account is changing, and it's the same from the balance sheet perspective. The balance sheet shows us what we own, so if we're buying laptops for using the business as an example, what we owe if we've got any bank loans, and what's left. And so this working capital takes what we've got in the bank and any customers who owe us money, and we deduct anything that we owe in the short term. So it's all about the short term, and it's the cash we've got readily available in the business. So some money saving questions to ask your accountant, because accountants can vary. And I always say you've got to have a good relationship with your accountant, because some of them will charge you to ask questions, others will happy to have that conversation with you. But at the end of the day, it's your money you're having to pay to HMRC, so you do need to feel comfortable asking these questions. So, because they're preparing lots of accounts, we could ask them how my margin's comparing to others in the industry, because they're going to have a good idea, because often it's quite difficult to get competitor data. Are there any costs that are unusually high? So they might be saying, actually, I think you're spending too much on travel, for example. You might be able to justify it, but again, it's just giving you that other food for thought to think about, do you need to cut any costs? Are there any tax reliefs or grants available for my business? This is a really important one, because I think we need to be proactive in asking this. So I've also got a new business I won some funding for a few months ago, called She Start Smart, and I have an accountant because I don't keep up to date with tax, okay? That's what I pay my accountant for. And there were some grants, not in Business Venture, have a look, okay? They've got some grants that they're giving if you've got any ideas for new products or services. So I was able to apply for that for my new business. Should I capitalise or expense purchases like laptops and equipment? So if we're buying anything for long-term use in the business, and we're expected to help us generate revenue in the business, then we should be doing what's called capitalising it, where it then appears on our balance sheet because it's something that we own. So again, we need to have that conversation with the accountant, should I be capitalising this? Because it can vary on the size of the business. It might be that we buy a cheap second-hand laptop for 200 quid and it's maybe not worth capitalising, but it could be that we buy a MacBook and it's £1,000, and actually, you know, the balance sheet is the one that investors are going to look at, that banks potentially, you know, and if you're deciding whether to go for a mortgage in the next few years, you want to make sure that your financial statements now are working the best for you, so you have the best chances of getting the best bank loan and the best mortgage, and you need to be having the conversations now with your accountant.
Can I ask you a good question?
Of course you can.
On the number 4,
Yeah.
so let's use the example of the MacBook.
Yes.
I've just done that,
Yeah.
but I haven't paid for it out of the business accounts, I've paid for it out of my own personal accounts.
Right.
How does that work?
Okay, so you should be able to claim that back through the business. If it's for business use, you'll need the receipt for it, or the invoice.
Yeah.
And then speak to your accountant, because that should be going through the business.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter which account you've purchased?
You should be using the business account, so your accountant will tell you off, but you need to be using the business account. And that's the key thing, because obviously record keeping, HMRC could come and do an inspection and find actually the invoice is a personal one. So again, get into the habit of everything going through the business account.
Would he transfer the money from the business account back to his sons like a repayment?
You could do, yeah. So, how much did you set aside? Is anyone VAT registered here? So a few of you. So that additional stress of cash flow there. So you've got to make sure that you're keeping enough money aside for VAT and also for tax. So get into the habit of when you're receiving money from your customers, that's going into separate accounts, say 20% of it as an example. because it really is important, because there's a stat that says 82% of businesses fail because they've not managed the cash flow effectively. And often it relates to tax and VAT. This is a great one to ask. Again, if we're going to go for a mortgage or a bank loan or whatever we might be thinking of doing, but getting ourselves in the best possible position, what's the best balance between salary and dividends? Because as we know, with the budgets, with the economy, politics, all of these boundaries can change. So your accountant keeps up to date with that. It may be that you're advised to maybe take minimum wage, so you've got a salary, and then take dividends. But again, have that conversation with the accountant, because they will be able to then talk to you about how much mortgage are you applying for and do all of those calculations, okay? Because I'm not a financial advisor, but I can give you tips in terms of questions to go and ask, okay?
Is there a sweet spot to reinvesting in the business and taking a smaller salary?
Yeah, because, I mean, you need to be reinvesting to grow. So, you know, as part of your long-term strategy, thinking about not just taking all of the money out of wages, but having that plan in terms of what do I want to achieve in the next 12 months, in the next 5 years, etc. So, yeah, you do certainly need to think about that and have those clear goals down on paper so that you can start to plan and put a budget together as well.
You talked earlier about if you was going for investment, obviously if your business is scaling up,
Yeah.
do investors look at just your business accounts, or do they also look at your personal situation?
That is a great question. So I went through investment a few years ago and had a not-for-profit organisation I co-founded, and they look at, some of them, not all of them, some of them will look at you as an individual, so they might do a credit check, check that you're listed on Companies House as the owner of the business, etc., as well as the business financials. Not all of them, it just depends.
Mm-hmm. So I suppose what I'm getting at, having a good credit score is really important.
Yeah. It may or may not, because it depends on the funders. Some are more generous than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And credit score can be impacted by a number of things,
Yeah.
not necessarily because you're bad at credit. If you've not had, say, a credit card and utilised it,
Yes.
for example, like I don't, I've noticed my credit score can sometimes drop,
Yeah.
and then when I start using a credit card and paying it back, paying it back,
Yeah.
I've seen my credit score go up. That's not because I'm bad at credit, I think that's because I'm good and I don't owe.
I know, it feels like you should be rewarded for that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, really not.
No, I know exactly what you mean, because like my daughters are at the age where they're over 18, they want to get a phone contract, but they've got no credit history.
Yeah.
And so it's really difficult to be able to get that. So my oldest has had to get a credit card, but then, you know, making sure you pay it back every month so that you can get that credit rating. But it is difficult. But I think investors as well will look at you as a person, like your whole CV, they'll have references. So that would just be one element. And it may be that actually they're not too worried about that if you've got a business model and a business plan that shows actually, you know, you've got a great business plan. Any other questions? Okay. So, tips for staying on top of cash flow. We don't want to leak your bucket, although it is difficult because, I mean, I work with different corporates, and sometimes, you know, you'll have 30 days and sometimes it ends up being 90 days, and it's like, it's so frustrating because we need that cash in, we've delivered that work, you know. So we've got to try, it's not always that easy, but we've got to try and forecast. So, accounting software will help predict your cash flow for you, but the best way of doing it is basically just downloading all your bank transactions, having a column for each month, and tracking your money in and your money out. Because your money in and your money out, the timings of that is making sure that you can actually pay those bills when they are due, and that you can pay the tax. And actually, I've just thought, if anyone does want to be added to the mailing list at the end, send me a message. I've not got my landing page set up or anything like that, but I have got some templates that I can send you for free. So I've got budgeting template, cash flow template, and then a monthly checklist of tips as well. So debtors, what does debtors mean? Have you heard of this one before? Yeah, customers who owe us money. You might hear it referred to as receivables, and we want to be reviewing those. We don't have to offer credit, but some people expect it, don't they? How many of you allow your customers to buy now and pay later? few of you. And that can be tricky balancing that because we need that money in as quickly as possible. So there are things that we can do. There's something called prompt payment discount where we could say to a customer, rather than pay us in 30 days, if you pay us in 7 days, we can give you a percentage off your total invoice. You've got to decide whether you want to do that. It has VAT implications as well, but it is an option, okay? And keep chasing them. And sometimes they'll use the excuse, I didn't receive the invoice. You think, well, I know that invoice has been sent, you know. Chase, oh, just checking, you've received that invoice. I'm cheeky, I want my money as soon as possible. Checking you've received the invoice. Can you just confirm that I'll be paid on Friday or whatever date it is, okay? Negotiate supplier payment terms. What we want is supplier payment terms to be longer than the customer payment terms. So if that customer doesn't pay us, we've got a bit longer, okay? So if a customer's on 30, I say try and negotiate like 45 days. They might say no, but we've not lost anything by asking. The other thing is a funding circle. Funding circle has started a facility where you can actually spread the cost of something. So you could buy something for your business and the supplier wouldn't know that you've then split the payment over 3, 6, 12 months, but they do charge you interest for it. But again, it's balancing that out, isn't it, with what's best for your circumstances. And again, they might offer prompt payment discount, so you might be able to take advantage of that as well. I mentioned about keeping the tax and VAT savings account, so making sure every time you're paid, just move some money out into a business savings account. Any businesses have stock here? Stock can be a drain on cash, can't it? So we've got to try and monitor that, making sure it's not an exact science, you know, we're estimating, aren't we, at the end of the day, but thinking about how much stock do we need to order, and we're having to pay to store it somewhere, and just trying to manage that. Because you all know your own businesses best in terms of, you know, how it's working and how you might implement this. And don't forget about those subscription costs. I'm guilty of it as well, so just look in, do I really need these subscriptions? Because a lot of businesses make a lot of money from people forgetting that they've got a subscription. And it's all those low value ones of like £10 here and there. And that all adds up. So, know those 3 numbers, okay? Ask better questions. And stay cash aware. Really, really important, okay? Thank you for listening. And if you do find that you have any wins from this, please do let me know. And if you want to get on my mailing list, as I say, just drop me a DM, or you can follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram. So thank you very much, everyone, and please let me know if you've got any questions.
Confirmation, I think that was really interesting from a business perspective, but what I would say is do that also in personal. You know, you talk about renewing subscriptions and things like that. I can remember I did a check of my finances.
I've got a personal finance one that I've done because, for me personally as well.
£300.
Yeah.
And I did it was a long time ago, but I did it when it was, you remember the credit crunch in 28, yeah. And I thought, let me have a look at how I can reduce my outgoings. And it was unreal, you know, everything. I looked at everything, Wi-Fi, gas, electric, everything.
Yeah, seeing where you can change, if you can change bank accounts, they give you money, there's all sorts of different things that you can do there. Yeah.
Really worthwhile. So the same for business, do it in your personal, and it's amazing how much money you can save.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions?
So it sounds like you've been doing these presentations and teaching for quite a while.
Yeah.
What's your 3 sort of observations, frustrations you have with what you're trying to get across to businesses and so on?
People saying they hate the numbers, so they just leave it to their accountant. It's like, oh, please don't do that, because you can have a handle on this.
Yeah.
Also, people not realising that actually the service they're delivering, if they're delivering multiple services or products, that elements of those are not profitable, and taking that decision to actually, maybe I need to stop that, or I need to increase my prices. And another one is people think, well, I've made £10,000 profit, why is that not my cash? So it's understanding the difference of the profit and loss account and the cash position of the business. Any other questions?
Bit of a cash flow question.
Yeah.
So we deal with stock, so specifically virtual reality hardware, where
Okay.
we get customers that will order kit from us, then we order it from the suppliers, and then we distribute it back out.
Yeah.
But as we try to grow, those orders are becoming larger. Now we work with academia, I should
Yeah.
say, so universities and schools where they have quite extended payment terms,
Yeah.
whereas our suppliers want like payment straight away so that they can order the kit because they have to buy it from various distributors and so on. So one solution we're looking at is credit cards for the business.
Yeah.
Now, is that a worthwhile thing to explore, or would it actually be that we need to have or look for alternative suppliers, or have that conversation about extended terms?
I
Because
think-
they just seem no one wants to move. The universities don't want to change. Suppliers don't want to budge, and so I'm in a bit of a sticky one.
I think you've answered your question there in terms of looking at alternative suppliers, and maybe seeing whether there's an opportunity to get a bit of payment up front.
Okay.
And credit card is fine, but it's very easy for that credit card balance to get higher and higher and higher and
And this is
higher,
the thing.
and you not pay it off.
Yeah.
We've all been guilty of that, and I think that's something you need to be aware of. So usually, you shouldn't be using like bank overdraft facility, for example, or credit cards for sort of short-term financing.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate that sometimes in situations you do need to do that.
Yeah, because at times I've gone, well, I could actually move money from personal accounts and move it
Yeah.
into business, which
It's
I want to
not
try
ideal,
not
is
to
it?
do, but it's
Yeah.
really easy to go, oh, well, I could just bring it across and then pay it back out again. But then I'm like, well, I could do with the money in the business account.
You know what would be worth doing as well? Asking your accountant, so say, what do other businesses that are similar to mine in the same industry do, and how do they manage that? Because they might be able to give you some tips as well.
Okay, yeah, I'll have
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
good luck with it.
No idea, but just came into my head. Could your customers use Klarna?
That's what we thought. I just don't know how universities would respond to that. I've never explored it myself, but it would be an area, maybe. I'm not sure.
Large organizations are a bit funny about it when it comes down to payments. Like there's a few businesses I know that I need to manage the cash flow in a way that I will get paid at that point. So what I would personally advise in that case, obviously if you can't change your suppliers, as I said earlier, try to look into another service that can give you enough cash flow to keep it there.
Okay.
But you don't want to you don't want to mess around too much with the contracts that you know that you will get the payment. I know it's a bit late and it's not what you want, but you know that the payment will come in. So you might want to generate an extra revenue that you can use for the cash flow. On the next stage, you will always have the money there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it will keep on flipping it itself rather than you having to find a different
Not
supplier, for
relying on
example.
that.
Yeah.
See,
Because
I mean,
you can-
if it's short-term cash flow issues, you could go for a bank overdraft
Yeah.
that's arranged and make sure it is arranged, because if you go over it, they're going to hammer you on interest, and it's going to affect your credit rating as well. So yeah, I'd say have a chat with the accountant, but there will be a few options that you can consider there.
Okay, I'll have a look into it.
Could consider invoice financing, or is that not? Would that
Like
not be
factoring?
something- Yeah.
Potentially.
It's just when someone else pays
Yeah, you
and
sell
then they
the
treat-
debts to somebody else,
Right.
but obviously there's a hefty fee associated with that. And again, it's balancing that off. So I would have the conversation with your accountant around that as well, because they might also be able to recommend someone to have a conversation with.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I just had one thing, just from what you said. So one of the things with anything to do with credit is having a look at the security of the person you're giving to the credit. It sounds like with it being a university, you're relatively protected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an organisation that's going to default in the long run because of the organisation it is. So really the issue is what's called bridging the gap.
Right.
Now when you go into bridging the gap, the first thing is having a look at all your options. Invoice factoring, director's loan to the company, credit cards, overdraft, even as outside investors. All of that really comes down to is what the profit margin is for the actual contract. If there's enough in there, then giving a slice of it away to get your money back in so you can expand even more and take more orders on does make sense. If the margin isn't there and you're working on a small margin, then really you're financing, you're becoming a money lender to some degree because you're buying stuff in, giving it to them, and then lending money for the stuff that they're buying until you get paid back.
The other thing is you can put different terms on, so if it goes over, that there's a add-on percentage. but also you could check with the university. I can't remember the policy, but it's almost like a fair payment policy for small businesses, and I can't remember the
The
term.
government's trying to do more with that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because, you know.
Yeah, so we had a situation where, so the university, it was 30 days to start with, so you supply the equipment, they have 30 days to pay the invoice off. That 30 days is extinguished, and they have another 15 days from that point, because you've told them that you're now overdue for them to then pay it. That 15 days then extended, and then at that point you can then start to apply interest onto the invoice. So then it was another 8 days until they actually paid, and I said, well, you're now really overdue. This is really bad for us as well. How can we as a small business continue to operate like this if you're not going to pay off our invoices? So I said, well, this is now the extra bill. It came to like £15, something like that, and they wouldn't pay for it. And then I'm like, is it worth chasing the £15? And then like, well, at that point, I'm always going to be in the corner. The university would always win.
That's not
It's a hard one to play sometimes, but they bring good opportunities.
The FD who's managing that, or the person who you agreed the contract with in the first place?
I kind of just let it slide, to be honest. It wasn't really worth the energy to chase.
But it is worth it for the long term if you could get round the table, because what it might do is if you got those people round the table and said, this is the situation, I don't want to have to withdraw, but you know, this is where we're at as a small business. And again, if you can look at their policies, have a dig around and see, and try and get some sort of resolve, then that might help you longer term. I only say this because I work a lot with universities, so I understand, and they're massive machines, because they're humongous, so they'll have hundreds of bills in and out daily, and you're just on a list somewhere until you scream loud enough.
It's not personal. It's literally not personal.
It's not. It's just.
I'm laughing because I've been in business 30 years, and you get used to write-offs. As soon as you go into business and you start getting used to write-offs, customers not paying, or if you're in property, tenants not paying, or it starts becoming, oh, that's another £500 written off. And you get a little bit blasé about all the little things you talk about in subscriptions, because I've got broadband that I'm paying £8-10 a month, and I'm thinking, oh, shall I chase that? Or I've got an empty property that could be bringing £600 a month.
It's weighing it up, isn't it? Yeah, you all know your business is best.
These write-offs, it's almost like financial assault. You might as well just get used to get financially assaulted by someone. It's not the tax man. Have you seen that meme where they've got the photograph on the desk and say, this is who I'm doing it all for, and then they turn it around and it's HMRC.
And everybody, was it yesterday or the day before, was like, HMRC's down, well, no one's bothered about that.
Thank you.
At the start you mentioned, well, you asked if we speak to our accountant like literally once a year.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's me at the moment. So would you say it's more worthwhile to have an accountant who you sort of check in with more regularly, like on a quarterly or monthly basis?
Yeah, but ask them if they charge for that, because I know some of them, you know, are happy to have those conversations to support you, and they'll say, oh, you know, you get 15 minutes or 30 minutes a quarter, for example. But then if you feel comfortable with that accountant and say, could we have more regular check-ins, will I be charged for that? It's about that rapport and feeling comfortable to ask those questions, because I think that is massive as well, you know, because, you know, we pay a lot of tax, don't we? And we need the right person to help advise us accordingly.
What's coming across is a lot of accountants are really interested in financial education for their clients as well.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of accountants that go beyond the service. They actually get frustrated with clients who are not open to education, because there's so much that they can actually do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they want to educate the clients, and then it's almost like they come to see me once a year or something.
And a good accountant really wants you to grow as a business, because if you grow, they grow. So actually it's like a win-win situation. You know, the more money you make, the more they can try and get you back after tax. But do you know what I mean? So as you make more money, yes, the accountant's going to make more money because their fees will increase as you're growing. But a good accountant will always make sure you're really tax efficient and you're doing everything right.
They also want to eke their work out all year, don't they?
Yeah, of course.
Want everything done till December, January.
Yeah.
And it's just chasing stuff because you've not sent it or done it.
Yeah, I think like I say, sometimes there are accountants that are just processing them, getting them done, but more and more now, and I'm having conversations with them where they want to educate their clients, they want you to be successful because you're getting more sort of almost coaching and mentoring within the service that they're offering. So that's why it is important to find the right accountant for you that understands your sector as well, which is really important.
And this isn't a promo for NatWest or free agent, but when I first had the conversations with bank, there's so much support that I get on the back of that. I've got access to HR support, templates, so much. It's almost like they just give you so much ready, a mentor scheme. And then I had a conversation with an allocated accountancy firm because there's a list who you can go to, and they were saying you can nominate us on the back end of free agent, and we would do your accounts monthly. So literally they're tracking it. So at the end of the year, you're not in this squeeze to get everything through the door for your tax return because it's been periodically done through the year. And I like that personally because it's the same as personal banking. Wage comes in, money goes out, what's left? Oh, okay, that's my money to play with. It's the same in business. So by the time you get to submitting your accounts, everything is pretty much there apart
Nothing's
from...
a shock, and you've got the cash in the bank to be able to pay it, and that's the most important thing, isn't it? Making sure there's no surprises, and you think, oh my goodness, I've got £5 tax bill, how am I going to pay it? Because actually I've spent my cash during the year because I didn't know it was going to be that much.
January.
Yeah, always at the wrong time of year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, thank you very much, everybody. Great to meet you all.
So as Tara said, just to re-emphasise, if you want to sign up to the mailing list, then feel free
Just send me a message, I'm not that organised yet.